From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang, and here are the news. On the top story, in observance of the 10th year Yolanda commemoration, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. attends a holy mass for the victims of Super Typhoon Yolanda, also known as Tropical Storm Haiyan, at the Tacloban City Convention Center in Tacloban City. Joined by the surviving families of the victims of Super Typhoon Yolanda, the Chief Executive hands over the certificates of award to 9 pabahay beneficiaries, representing the 3,000 beneficiaries of the National Housing Authority or NHA's Yolanda permanent housing sites. The occasion also includes an audio-visual presentation that commemorates the harrowing event that took place on November 8, 2013. It was during this time that Typhoon Yolanda, one of the world's strongest tropical cyclones, made landfall in eastern Visayas with maximum sustained winds estimated at 195 meters per hour or 350 kilometers per hour. The catastrophic cyclone caused widespread destruction and tragically claimed the lives of approximately 6,300 individuals. Tacloban City, the regional center of eastern Visayas, experienced the full force of the typhoon's impact, with the storm surge reaching heights of up to 20 feet or 6 meters. This resulted in significant coastal inundation and casualties. The combination of strong winds and heavy rainfall led to widespread flooding, causing extensive damage to infrastructure, including communication and road networks. As a result, the immediate deployment of relief efforts was hampered, exacerbating the severity of the humanitarian crisis. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council or NDRIMC recorded an estimated 14,433 displaced families in Tacloban City alone. Most of the displaced families from the nearby coastal town sought refuge in the Tacloban City Convention Center, which was one of the few structures that survived the devastating impact of Super Typhoon Yolanda. A decade later, the site now serves as a fitting venue to commemorate the anniversary of Typhoon Yolanda. Here is Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
The Excellencies and other members of the Diplomatic Corps who are here representing the countries who came to our aid in the depths of our difficulties after Yolanda. I know that everyone here had a part to play in the recovery, but we cannot overstate the importance of the efforts of the different countries who came to the Philippines to assist, the NGOs, the international NGOs, the local NGOs that came and helped with the rebuilding and the rehabilitation and the recovery. I remember very well how we were at a complete loss in the days following Yolanda. Where do we get relief goods? How do we bring them? How do we transport them to the people that are in need? I remember when I first arrived in Tacloban, there were 3 vehicles in the whole of Leyte that were still functioning. And these were the people who came, the NGOs, the different countries, even the private corporations who came. And they helped us in every way that they could, in both the relief, both in the rescue, and even in the rehabilitation and the rebuilding of Tacloban. And for that, they would come and they would bring all that we needed They would bring relief goods. They will bring water. They would bring water purifiers. They would bring fuel. They would bring transportation. And we could not have survived without that. And so it is impossible to overstate how important it is to us what you did for us after Yolanda and in the years subsequent to Yolanda, where you never left us. You stayed with us and stayed with us for years until you could see that we had recovered. And for that, we owe you a depth of gratitude that we will never be able to repay. Also here is, we will introduce our now DNR Secretary, who was then with the Manila Observatory. She was, nauna po siya. She was the first, they were the first to forecast how strong Yolanda was going to become. And we could not believe the figures that she was saying, that umabot ng 370-kilometer gusts. And up to now, we have not seen that kind of weather anywhere around the world. And that is why we have now recognized that this was the onset of the worst effects of climate change. Andito rin ngayon, Senator Francis Tolentino, kailangan po natin batiin dahil MMDA siya. Metro Manila Development Authority, napakalayo po. He was far away. But the first heavy equipment that arrived in Tacloban was the MMDA heavy equipment. Nauna pa sila sa lahat ng ibang government agencies. Kaya't karapat-dapat na nandito siya. Nakasama natin na tumutulong dito. Andito rin si then Secretary Mark Villar na pinagpatuloy nung panahon ng nakaraang administrasyon, noong siyang Secretary ng Department of Public Works, ay siya ay nagpatuloy ng reconstruction at ginawa niyang prioridad. Kaya't kami na tiga rito ay muling nagpapasalamat sa inyo. And of course, ang ating Housing Secretary na naging kasama, nandito rin si Job Bentay ng NHA. Lahat sila ay tumutulong para pagandahin dahil yung unang ginawang reconstruction ng mga bahay ay hindi pumasa kay Mayor Alfred. At sabi niya, hindi po pwedeng tirahan ito. Kaya't binalikan po natin. We went back and we made sure that the facilities that were being created are now suitable for the families that lost their homes. And that is why they continue the recovery, the rehabilitation, the rebuilding still continues. Nandito rin po ang ating Secretary ng DILG, Secretary Benhur Abalos, dahil alam nyo, yung pinaghirapan po natin, the suffering that we went through during Yolanda will not go to naught because we have shown the rest of the country and the rest of the world what needs to be done. The suffering that we went through is now a bellwether of what the world needs to face when we talk about climate change. Kaya po, ito po ang naging naranasan natin dito sa Western Visayas, hindi lamang po Tacloban, hindi lamang Leyte, pati Samar Island, ay malakas ang tama hanggang Ormoc. Tinamaan ng Yolanda. Lahat yan, kahirapan na dinaanan natin, marami tayong naituro sa buong Pilipinas at sa buong mundo para kaya natin harapin ang mga nagiging problema dahil nga sa ating climate change. At nung panahon na yon, si Speaker Romualdez ay majority floor leader pa lang, hindi pa sa speaker noon. At nandito kami, ako naiwan dito, senador ko noon, naiwan ako dito sa Tacloban, doon ako nakakamping doon sa bahay ni Congressman Martin. At siya naman, sinabi ko sa kanya, magpaiwan ka dyan sa Maynila para lahat ng pangangailangan namin dito sa Tacloban, lahat ng pangangailangan dito hanggang Giwan, hanggang lahat ng Samar, lalong-lalo na sa pag-release ng mga emergency funds, sa kanya ko pinapasa. at yun naman ang kanyang linalakad. Kaya narelisan tayo kaagad ng 130 billion na binigay. Yun ang unang pumasok na pondo para makapagbigay tayo. Tapos nandiyan po yung ating mga tumulong at nung medyo nasalba na natin lahat ng mga survivor at nakuha na natin, ay nandiyan naman po yung ibang NGO nagsimula ng Cash for Work program para naman linisin na ang mga gusali, linisin na ang mga nagkalat. At ito po ay lahat ng ating mga kaibigan ay hindi na natin sinasabing kaibigan na lang, kung hindi ito po ay ating mga naging kapatid na dahil sa lalim ng pinagsamahan natin at hindi po tayo iniwanan hanggang nakita nila tapos na ang trabaho nila dito sa atin sa Western Visayas, sa Tacloban, sa Leyte. 10 years have gone by, and yet the memory of this tragedy remains indelible in our hearts and in our thoughts. The devastation we suffered included over 6,000 lives lost, over 28,000 injured, over 1,000 missing, and over 3 million families affected. And to this day, we still do not know the true scope of our loss, because we grieve and we mourn those of our dead. But we must always keep a special place in our hearts for those who we lost, who are uncounted, who are unrecorded. So that up to now, we say 6,000 casualties. We do not know that for sure. We are certain that there were more, but for whatever reason, their deaths have not been recorded. So even if that is the case, let them not be unremembered. So when we grieve and when we mourn for our dead, keep a special place in your heart for those who have not been known to have gone. But we know in our hearts, we know the loss that we feel. Let us always pray for them. To the survivors who continue to move forward, we salute your indomitable spirit and character. As we commemorate this 10th year of Yolanda, let us continue to offer our prayers for our dearly departed, even as we find our own path towards peace, towards healing, towards recovery. And who could ever forget the extraordinary outpouring of love, of help and compassion that came from all over the country and from all over the world. The aid that came from all directions, the volunteerism, the heroism that overflowed in the affected areas, specifically in the rehabilitation of Tacloban. Indeed, what we saw back then was the spirit of bayanihan in its truest form, moving without prompting, without hindrance, and without ceasing. And much to our surprise, we saw that Filipino bayanihan spirit coming from our friends from all other lands. So to all the national leaders, all the local leaders, then and now, the private sector, the international, local organizations, volunteers, donors, accept our eternal gratitude. But the work is not done. The work is not done. There are still many who continue to await our assistance. So we have engaged the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development and the National Housing Authority to accelerate the provision of housing units and land titles to our beneficiaries. And I also urge the Yolanda response clusters to work closely with concerned local governments to address the lingering issues of the different affected communities. Let us continue to work hard so that we can provide them with the tools and the resources to rebuild their lives. At this point, let me, of course, acknowledge the local government of Tacloban City for rising above this challenge and working hard to strengthen the locality's disaster resiliency. Ang inyong mayor po ay he has become now the poster boy of climate resilience not only in the Philippines but around the world. Kapag meron silang hinahanap na sino ang expert tungkol sa mga nagiging problema na dinudulot ng climate change, si Mayor Alfred Romualdez po ang hinahanap kung saan-saan. Kaya't nakilala na ang Tacloban sa inyong tibay, sa inyong tapang, sa inyong galing, sa inyong sipag at sa inyong pagmamahal. I recognize that your disaster risk reduction and the management efforts to the creation of contingency, public service, and the disaster response plan, both at the barangay and city levels, are now in place. Your endeavors to establish emergency evacuation SOPs and emergency response teams are noteworthy and serve as examples for other local governments around the country. Equally important is your collective action to protect and rehabilitate your communities through reforestation, river embankment and stabilization, and other environmental conservation programs. It is also crucial to be reminded that climate change will keep exacerbating the impact of natural disasters. As I have said, we must make climate change a vital component of our national policies. We must make sure that we apply our knowledge on climate change to every plan, to every decision and initiative, so we can build stronger and more resilient communities. Be assured that the government is always striving to ensure that such tragedies of this magnitude will be avoided and will be adapted to. We continue to build disaster-resilient evacuation centers and emergency operation centers. We are also putting into place more centralized and efficient early warning systems, incident command systems, and disaster response strategies. The development and deployment of new technologies such as GeoRisk PH and Plan Smart, along with the continuous conduct of information and education campaigns, simulation drills are also aimed to save lives. I therefore call on our citizens to partner with us in bolstering our country's disaster preparedness, recovery, and resiliency so that we can overcome whatever storms we will face. It is an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and better as we a people and we as a country. So we mark the 10th year of Typhoon Yolanda. Let us also celebrate the unparalleled spirit of the Waray and of the Filipino. Let us take pride in the fact that we triumphed over this calamity through our innate bayanihan, which inspired people all over the world. Let us envision, let us dream, let us work towards building a better nation, isang bagong Pilipinas, in honor of those who have passed on and for the benefit of our future generations. Thank you and good morning.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. leads the 2023 Handa Pilipinas Visayas Leg opening ceremony, an annual exposition of innovations in disaster risk reduction and management, or DRRM, at the Summit Hotel, Tacloban City in commemoration of the 10th anniversary of Typhoon Yolanda. Carrying the theme, Super Typhoon Yolanda or STY Yolanda Remembered, Understanding Risks and Preventing Future Disasters. The Handa Pilipinas Visayas Leg features the lessons of Super Typhoon Yolanda, recognizing the institutions that contributed significantly to the rapid recovery of Region 8 through science, technology, and innovation, or STI interventions. It also aims to capacitate the Visayas stakeholders with knowledge and skills in disaster risk and management. The 3-day event showcases a series of technology fora where experts and resource speakers discuss in detail the Department of Science and Technology or DOST developed, supported, and funded DRRM technologies as well as the sub-themes: pagpangandam, disaster preparedness technologies, and pagtindog, disaster response, rehabilitation, and recovery technologies, which will be discussed on November 9. This event also coincides with the celebration of the 2023 Regional Science, Technology, and Innovation Week in Eastern Visayas. Moreover, DOST attached agencies including the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, and Science and Technology Information Institute, or STII, will hold similar events aimed at educating the public on disaster management at the Leyte Normal University in Tacloban City on November 10. Here is Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Today we launched the Visayas leg of Handa Pilipinas to showcase the various disaster risk reduction and management initiatives of the government. This is done in collaboration with many stakeholders and partners since Super Typhoon Yolanda struck the country. And beyond that, also I see some technologies that have been developed during the COVID pandemic that hit the whole world in the recent years. But putting our experience at the heart of this event reminds us of the calamity that brought unimaginable destruction to the Visayas, to the Philippines. It serves as a poignant reminder of the power of nature and our vulnerability to that power. More importantly, it underscores the importance of disaster risk reduction and management in the Philippines. The Filipino spirit is incredible. It has been demonstrated during and in the aftermath of Yolanda and of COVID. Our ability to come together, to support one another, to rebuild during such adversity is always an inspiration. We therefore owe it to ourselves and to the future to learn from this experience and make sure that such devastation will be mitigated or somehow prevented, because we are now better prepared and we are now better adapted to the vagaries of very severe weather events. The government remains committed to advancing our country's disaster resilience, and of course we must recognize the role of the Department of Science and Technology in this undertaking. The DOST has been instrumental in developing cutting-edge technologies for disaster risk prevention, the mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. I am confident that the technologies featured in this event, such as the mobile command post, the triaging trailer tent, the collapsible toilet bowl, upgraded emergency disinfection system, fire blankets, unsinkable portaboat, and water ambulance, amongst others, will be of great help during relief and rescue operations. The emergency food reserve as well, as the complementary food and food products are also good additions to our survival kits during calamities. So let us also remember that collaboration amongst governments, agencies, local governments, and the private sector and communities is the key to effective and successful disaster risk reduction and management. I was just having a quick discussion with Secretary Solidum, and that we were talking about this is the product of some very important research and development. And however, as the mayor has pointed out and the governor has pointed out, first of all, we wish we had all of this 10 years ago when after Yolanda struck. But now we have them here. And kung titignan natin ang mga teknolohiya na dala ng DOST ngayon na develop ng ating mga scientifico, ay talagang bagay na bagay para sa LGU. They are in a small scale, and they are directed for up to I can see some of this hanggang barangay health kit, pwede yan ipasok. Kaya sa akin ang sinasabi ko kay Secretary Solidum, ay sinasabi ko sa kanya, dapat magpatulong tayo sa private sector dahil madali namang ipaliwanag na may ready market ang LGU, may ready market ang lahat ng mga produktong ito para sa ating mga LGU. Kaya kailangan pagpatuloy natin ang pag-develop, hindi na yung teknolohiya, kung hindi ang pagpababa ng presyo ng ating mga produkto at pagparami para maging available sa lahat ng ating mga LGU para naman magamit pantulong sa tao kapag may pangangailangan. So, I implore everyone to maximize the use of these technologies to fast-track the widespread adoption and commercialization. Let us also promote public awareness so that every citizen becomes more proactive, better informed, better equipped in times of an emergency. Let us ensure that science and innovation continues to guide us in our endeavors. These are crucial to addressing the challenges in disaster risk reduction and staying ahead of the curve in disaster management. The world is rapidly changing. It is imperative that our ways and our strategies adapt and improve as well. So my fellow Filipinos, let us remember the lessons of the past, not with despair, but with the determination to learn and to change for the better, to be better prepared, to be better able to help our people. Let us unite and channel all our energies into building a safer, stronger, more resilient Philippines for ourselves and for future generations. Sa bagong Pilipinas na ating isinusulong, ang bawat Pilipino ay laging handa sa pagharap sa mga hamon ng buhay at sa pagtulong sa iba pang mga nangangailangan. Maraming salamat sa inyo at mabuhay po tayong lahat. Congratulations dito sa ating magandang naging teknolohiya na ibibigay sa ating mga LG. Maraming salamat at magandang tanghali po sa inyo.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is set to attend the 30th Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC Leaders Summit in San Francisco, California from November 15 to November 17, which is the culmination of the year-long chairmanship and hosting by the United States of the leaders meeting this year. Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, Undersecretary Charles Jose said that President Marcos's attendance to the APEC summit is important for the Philippines as it serves as the country's primary forum for official engagements with other economies in the Asia-Pacific region. Jose also emphasized that 11 of the Philippines' top 15 trading partners are APEC members. He added that APEC economies play a significant role in the Philippines, accounting for 85% of the country's total exports and imports, and approximately 56% of the foreign direct investments that entered the country. The Foreign Affairs official emphasized that the attendance of President Marcos to this year's APEC Leaders Summit in the U.S. will be his second, with a previous one held in Thailand November last year. Jose said this year's APEC theme, creating a resilient and sustainable future for all, have been focused on building sustainability, inclusivity, and resilience toward a peaceful and prosperous APEC region. He also emphasized that among several successful outcomes from APEC work in 2023 included the adoption of agreements that would advance food security, energy security, human resource development, digitalization, and supply chain resilience.
The President is attending this year's 30th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting, which will be held on November 15, 16, and 17 in San Francisco, California, USA. The APEC Leaders Meeting is the culmination of the year-long chairmanship and hosting by the United States of APEC in 2023. As we all know, the Philippines is a founding member of APEC in 1989. APEC is important to the Philippines because it is the primary forum for our engagement with the other economies in the Asia-Pacific region. 11 of our top 15 trading partners are APEC members. APEC economies account for 85% of our total exports and imports and about 56% of the foreign direct investments that enter the Philippines. This year's APEC theme is creating a resilient and sustainable future for all. Throughout the year, APEC's work focused on building sustainability, inclusivity, and resilience toward a peaceful and prosperous APEC region. There have been several successful outcomes from APEC's work in 2023, including the adoption of agreements that would advance food security, energy security, human resource development, digitalization, and supply chain resilience. This year's APEC theme aligns with the economic agenda of the administration of President Marcos Jr., the Philippine Development Plan, and the administration's 8-point socio-economic agenda envisage an economic transformation for a prosperous, inclusive, and resilient Philippines by prioritizing the creation of more quality and green jobs.
In the APEC Leaders Summit, President Marcos will also be making working visits to Los Angeles, California, and Honolulu, Hawaii, where he will meet with business leaders in the Filipino community. The AFA Undersecretary Charles Jose said that this visit would add layer of cooperation between the U.S. and the Philippines.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Bea Gaza.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.